Have you ever felt like you're living in the wrong timeline? Like everyone around you is still figuring out who they are, but you've already been through that journey? Like you're somehow carrying experiences that don't match the number of years you've been alive. There are people who feel decades older than their actual age. They're 25 but feel 40. They're 30 but carry the weariness of someone who's seen 50 years of life. And it's not about being mature, it's deeper than that. It's about feeling fundamentally out of sync with your own generation. If this is you, you're not broken. You're not weird. There's actual psychology behind why some people feel this way, and understanding it might be the most validating thing you hear today. Number one, they grew up too fast, and their childhood was stolen. Let's start here because this is where it begins for most people. Psychologists have a term for it: parentification. It's when a child is forced into adult roles before their brain is ready for it. Maybe you had to raise your younger siblings because your parents couldn't. Maybe you became the emotional support system for a depressed or anxious parent. Maybe your family went through financial crisis and you had to work, hustle, survive while your classmates were still playing. Here's what happens in the brain. When you're forced to make adult decisions as a child, your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for planning and emotional regulation, develops faster. But it doesn't develop in a healthy way. It develops under stress, under pressure, under survival mode. So while other kids were learning through play and mistakes, you were learning through consequences and responsibility. And that gap, it never really closes. You end up feeling older because you are never allowed to be young. And here's the painful part. You can't get that time back. You can heal, you can process, but the innocence, that's gone. And it leaves this quiet ache, this sense that you've missed something everyone else got to experience. Number two, they've experienced loss or trauma that aged them overnight. Grief is a time machine. It doesn't just hurt you, it changes you. And when you experience significant loss early in life, it fundamentally rewires how you see the world. Developmental psychologists have found that people who face trauma or loss during critical periods of growth, especially adolescence, often develop what's called post-traumatic growth. But here's the thing. Growth doesn't mean you feel better, it means you understand more. You see deeper, you think longer. Maybe you lost a parent. Maybe you went through abuse. Maybe you watched someone you loved destroy themselves and you couldn't stop it. Whatever it was, it taught you lessons that most people don't learn until they're much older. You learn that life is fragile, that people leave, that safety is not guaranteed, that you can't control everything, no matter how hard you try. And once you learn those lessons, you can't unlearn them. You can't go back to seeing the world as a safe, predictable place. You become hyper-aware, hyper-vigilant, always thinking 3 steps ahead because you've already seen what happens when you don't. While your peers are living in the moment, you're managing risk. While they're being spontaneous, you're calculating consequences. It's exhausting. But it's also why you feel so much older. Because emotionally, you are. Number 3, they overthink everything, and it accelerates their mental aging. If you feel older than your age, chances are your mind never stops. You analyze everything, every conversation, every decision. Every interaction gets replayed, dissected, stored for future reference. Psychologists call this rumination. And while a little bit of reflection is healthy, chronic overthinkers live in a constant state of mental time travel. You're reviewing the past. You're predicting the future. You're rarely just here, in the present. And here's what that does. It compresses time psychologically. Studies on time perception show that people who engage in deep reflective thinking experience time differently. Every moment feels heavier because you're extracting meaning from it. You're not just living life, you're studying it. This creates wisdom, real wisdom, the kind that makes people twice your age nod in agreement when you speak. But it also creates exhaustion because your brain is doing the work of someone who's lived much longer. You see patterns others miss. You understand motives others overlook. You connect dots that haven't even been drawn yet. And that's beautiful. But it also means you're carrying a cognitive load that most people your age aren't carrying. You're not just living your life, you're trying to understand everyone else's too. And that's why you feel so tired, so old, so done with surface level anything. Number 4, They can't relate to people their own age, and it's isolating. This one hits hard. You're at a party or a gathering or just scrolling through social media, and you feel like you're watching everyone from behind glass. They're excited about things that feel trivial to you. They're stressing about things that seem small. They're chasing things you've already realized don't matter. And you can't fake it. You can't pretend to care. Social comparison theory explains this. Your internal reference point is completely different from theirs. While they're comparing themselves to each other, you're comparing your experiences to a much older, much deeper set of values. You're not judging them. You're just disconnected. Because when you've been through what you've been through, when you've thought what you've thought, small talk feels impossible. Shallow friendships feel pointless. And most conversations feel like performances you don't have the energy for. So you end up alone a lot. Not because you're antisocial, but because finding people who match your frequency is rare. And when you do find them, they're usually older, sometimes much older. You become the youngest person in every meaningful conversation you have. And while that's a compliment to your depth, it's also a reminder that you're out of sync with your own timeline. Number 5, they value peace over excitement, and it confuses everyone. Most people your age are chasing something: adventure, success, validation, noise. They want more, bigger, faster, louder. But you just want peace. You want quiet mornings, stable routines, people who don't drain you, spaces that feel safe. And people don't understand that. They think you're boring, or depressed, or giving up on life. But that's not it at all. What's actually happening is this. You've already been through the chaos. Whether it was external chaos, family dysfunction, financial instability, or internal chaos, anxiety, depression, identity crisis, you've lived through enough turbulence that your nervous system is craving the opposite. Psychologically, this is called homeostasis. Your body and mind are trying to return to balance. And after years of fight or flight, peace isn't boring. It's healing. You're not avoiding life. You're protecting the life you've fought so hard to build. You're not running from excitement. You're choosing sustainability over stimulation. And that's a level of self-awareness most people don't reach until their 40s or 50s. But you're there now, and it makes you feel ancient. Because while everyone else is still figuring out what they want, you've already figured out what you need. Number 6, they carry an emotional weight that doesn't show on the outside. Here's the thing people don't see. You might look your age. You might even act your age in certain settings. But internally, you're carrying years of unprocessed emotion, unspoken grief, unacknowledged burnout. Psychologists call this emotional labor. And for people who feel older than their age, it's been a constant. You've been managing other people's emotions, holding space for people who never held space for you, keeping it together when everything was falling apart. And that labor, it ages you. Not in wrinkles or gray hair, but in your eyes, in your energy, in the way you move through the world with this quiet, invisible exhaustion. You've been strong for so long that you don't even know what it feels like to not be strong. And that's the weight. That's what makes you feel so much older, because you've been living like an adult since you were a child. Here's what you need to understand. Feeling older than your age is not a curse. It's a testament to everything you've survived, everything you've carried, everything you've learned when you didn't have a choice. You're not broken. You're built different. You've been shaped by experiences that don't fit neatly into your timeline. And that's why you don't fit neatly into your generation. But here's the other side of this. Just because you feel older doesn't mean you have to carry everything alone. Just because you've been through a lot doesn't mean you're not allowed to rest, to play, to be light sometimes. You don't have to unlearn your depth, but you also don't have to perform it constantly. Give yourself permission to just exist, without analyzing, without managing, without carrying. You've earned that, more than most people ever will. If this resonated with you, you're part of a quiet community of people who understand. People who feel the same weight, the same distance, the same quiet knowing. Subscribe if you want more videos like this, because we see you, and you're not alone.